Hold up. Wait, what? The Switch 2 is getting how many FPS games? Yep, 16 upcoming first-person shooters are on the way. From fast-paced military shooters and intense sci-fi action to survival horror and chaotic co-op gunfights, the Switch 2 lineup is starting to look seriously stacked for FPS fans. Now, let's get into it.
I've been isolated in this place.
If you haven't heard of it, you'd be forgiven for thinking this was a lost AAA survival horror title from the early 2000s. But here's the kicker. This isn't running on Unreal or Unity. This is a total conversion mod for GZ Doom. Yeah, you heard that right. Underneath the rusted metal, the suffocating fog, and the genuine psychological dread is the skeleton of a game from 1993. But looking at it, you'd never know. Creator Sam Preble spent years dragging the Doom engine kicking and screaming into the modern era, and the result is one of the most atmospheric brown trousers experiences you can find on PC. You play as a researcher arriving at a deserted mining colony on a remote island, and predictably, everything has gone to hell. But instead of Doom Guy's power fantasy, you're fragile. The enemies aren't just sprites, they are haunting, twitchy abominations that track you through a world that feels genuinely lived in and died in. We've seen him on Xbox, we've seen him on PS5, but the real question has always been, can Nintendo's new hardware actually handle the heat of a machine game's masterpiece? Well, grab your fedoras, because we have an answer. And this isn't some watered-down cloud version, or a blurry impossible port held together by duct tape and prayers. This is the full experience running native. The big takeaway here? Optimization. Bethesda has confirmed that the Switch 2 version is coming on a physical cartridge. And remarkably, it contains the full game data. For years, Nintendo fans have had to settle for good enough when it came to third-party AAA titles. But the Great Circle on Switch 2 feels like a statement. It's a massive, semi-open world immersive sim that demands a lot from its CPU, especially with those complex physics-based puzzles and AI stealth loops. If Machine Games has managed to get this running smoothly at a stable frame rate, it sets a massive precedent for what we can expect from the Switch 2's library going forward.
Initializing our live stream show.
If you've ever wondered what would happen if you injected Post Void with a lethal dose of 90s OVA anime aesthetics, this is it. It's a hyperkinetic dopamine shooter where you have exactly 10 seconds to live, and the only way to reset that timer is to keep killing. The premise is brilliantly simple. You're a moderator climbing the Nakamura Tower to rescue a famous influencer from billionaire robots. But because society is addicted to instant gratification, your literal life force is tied to a 10-second countdown. This creates a gameplay loop that is pure, unadulterated speed. Bringing a game this fast to a handheld is always a risk, but the developers at Hammer 95 have optimized the hell out of this port. It's confirmed to be the full experience. No cut content, and it's launching right alongside the massive update that added the Ultra Kill crossover boss. More importantly, it's a perfect fit for the platform's pick-up and play nature. The original High on Life was the ultimate love-it-or-hate-it experiment of 2022. It broke records by leaning into a very specific brand of chaotic, improvisational humor and neon-soaked alien worlds. If you're looking at this gameplay and wondering if it's just more of the same, you're only half right. The big hook this time around? Skateboarding. Squanch actually built a full traversal system around an intergalactic hoverboard, and it completely changes the flow of combat. It's less of a corridor shooter now and feels a lot closer to something like Sunset Overdrive. We're seeing 5 years have passed in universe. You're now the most famous bounty hunter in the galaxy, but in classic Squanch fashion, everything goes sideways when a bounty is put on your own sister, Lizzie. The humor is still polarizing, and without the original studio head's involvement, the tone has shifted slightly toward a more ensemble cast vibe.
I don't think this is the way to get to Pink Bellies. Let's go.
Let's be honest, we've all spent way too much time in GTA ignoring the story just to see how long we could survive a 5-star pursuit. But Crime Simulator takes that sandbox chaos and turns it into a dedicated science. The game nails the professional versus chaos spectrum. 1 minute, you're meticulously disabling silent alarms and timing guard patrols like a digital Danny Ocean. The next, everything goes sideways because you tripped over a physics-enabled trash can. And suddenly you're playing a high-stakes version of The Floor is Lava. Except the lava is armed with tactical gear and sirens. What makes this work where others fail is the progression loop. You start by boosting car stereos and move up to high-security vault cracks that require actual brainpower. It taps into that primal gamer urge to see numbers go up, but it rewards your creativity rather than just your trigger finger. Is it a perfect simulation? No. But is it the most fun you can have without actually ending up on a most wanted list? Absolutely.
The Golden Journey serves the interest of all humanity.
You wake up, something's screaming in the vents, and your flashlight has the battery life of a 20-year-old pager. But RetroSpace isn't just another stroll through a haunted tin can. It feels like a fever dream mashup of System Shock's atmosphere, and the sheer, unapologetic funk of a 1970s disco. The hook here isn't just the disco punk aesthetic, though the neon flares and shag-carpeted cockpits are a vibe. It's the freedom of approach. This is an immersive sim at its core. You're a survivor in a world that respects your intelligence. Want to sneak through the shadows, avoiding the mutated remains of the crew? Go for it. Prefer to rewrite the station's logic and let the security turrets do the heavy lifting? The systems are there for you to break. What's truly impressive is how it handles mutations. Every time you die or experiment, you can alter your DNA, gaining powers that feel less like perks and more like game-changing tools.
This is a game, isn't it?
This shouldn't hurt too bad.
Borderlands 4 was supposed to be the killer app showing us exactly what the Switch 2 could do. We saw the demos at PAX, we heard Randy Pitchford's creator's voice interview, and for a second, it looked like the days of impossible ports were finally over. But then came the indefinite delay, the cancelled pre-orders, and now, Take-Two has officially hit the pause button. In their latest earnings call, the Switch 2 version was a total ghost. A spokesperson confirmed they've paused the SKU to focus on optimizing the game for current platforms. With the PC and PS5 versions struggling with frame rates, it seems Gearbox hit a wall. If the most powerful Nintendo console ever can't handle the wasteland without falling apart, it raises some serious questions about the hardware's limits, or Gearbox's optimization. Is Borderlands 4 dead on Nintendo, or just waiting for a Legendary Edition miracle? What do you guys think?
They whisper of things that walk.
Every once in a while, a game comes along that actually understands how to build dread. Enter Folklore Hunter. This isn't just a game where you wander through the woods waiting for a loud noise. It's a tactical, high-stakes game of cat and mouse, where you are technically the cat, but you feel like the mouse the entire time. You drop into these massive, desolate maps equipped with bear traps, cameras, and a rifle. On paper, you're the apex predator. But the AI for creatures like the Wendigo or the Blood Tither is genuinely unnerving. They stalk you. They stay just outside your flashlight's reach, mimicking sounds and testing your perimeter. What makes this a must-play for horror fans is the preparation phase. Setting up a network of remote cameras and lures feels like a high-tech ghost hunt until the moment a trap snaps in the distance, and you realize whatever you caught is much stronger than you anticipated.
A lot of blood. We need to get her stabilized.
From waging war against Dr. Haskell to weeding out the fragmented...
Look, we all love a good throwback, but Phantom Fury isn't just reaching for nostalgia. It's trying to drag the early 2000s kicking and screaming into the present day. It's a sequel to Ion Fury, sure, but it feels more like a long-lost PC classic you'd find at the bottom of a bargain bin in 2004. And I mean that in the best, and sometimes most frustrating way possible. You're back as Shelly Harrison, and this time, the build engine is gone, replaced by a fully 3D world that screams Half-Life and Duke Nukem Forever. The interactivity here is insane. You can use computers, play arcade machines, and basically poke everything in the environment. It makes the world feel lived in, even when you're busy painting the walls with mutant blood using a bionic arm or the iconic Loverboy revolver. The gunplay is punchy, and the weapon variety is a legitimate highlight. You've got over 20 tools of destruction, including those satisfying bowling bombs and electrified
Players
foam
will see
launchers.
the return of some of their favorite weapons from Ion Fury, such as the Loverboy and Shelly's iconic bowling bomb.
Take the loot grind of Borderlands, the punishing loops of a roguelite, and then dress it all up in a slick, stylized Chinese mythos. You get Gunfire Reborn. It's the kind of game that promises just one more run at 10 PM, and suddenly you're watching the sun come up while trying to build the ultimate elemental cat. At its heart, this is a hero-based shooter where every run feels genuinely distinct. You start with a base character, but by the time you reach the second or third act, you've stacked so many occult scrolls and ascensions that you've transformed into a walking god of destruction. One run, you're a sniper dealing millions of damage in a single shot. The next, you're a literal dog wielding dual rocket launchers with infinite ammo. While it's a blast solo, the 4-player co-op is where the chaos truly peaks. It's got a deep meta progression tree, so even when you fail, you're always getting stronger for the next attempt. Look, we've covered a lot of boomer shooters on this channel, but Viscerafest might be the most unhinged one yet. Usually, you're saving the world or escaping hell, but here, you play as Caroline, a bloodthirsty mercenary who just wants to buy a nice wedding ring for her boyfriend. The problem is, she's broke, and the only way to afford that rock is to collect the massive bounty on a warlock named Chromium. It's a love story, if your love language is projectile vomiting lead and cosmic gore. It's an arena shooter that borrows the push-forward combat of Doom Eternal, but cranks the speed up to 11. You have limited ammo and 9 distinct weapons, like the Bunker Buster shotgun, and you have to juggle them constantly. If you run out of bullets, you have to get in close for a melee finisher just to stay in the fight. What stands out is the movement. Between bunny hopping, dashing, and incredible air control, you're basically a lethal ballerina. For years, the 2019 Fresh Supply port was the only way to play this classic on modern hardware. But let's be honest, it was a bit of a bug-ridden mess at launch. Now, Night Dive has returned to the scene of the crime with a refreshed version that finally does Caleb justice. While the previous port was a reverse-engineered effort, Refresh Supply is built on the actual original source code, making it the most authentic-feeling version of Blood since 1997. This matters because it fixes the frame-perfect movement and enemy AI behaviors that were notoriously broken by high refresh rates in the past. Beyond the technical wizardry, Night Dive has packed this release with an incredible amount of vault content, including unreleased concept art and developer interviews that provide a rare look into Monolith's original vision. The inclusion of the Marrow scenario at launch was a great touch, but the real star is the official integration of Death Wish, which adds nearly 50 new levels of grueling, high-quality content. Back in 1998, Sin had the worst luck in gaming history. It launched just 10 days before Half-Life, and while Gordon Freeman was redefining the genre, John Blade was struggling with a buggy release that required a massive 20 megabyte patch on dial-up. It was a disaster, but the game underneath was actually years ahead of its time. Fast forward to today, and Night Dive Studios is finally giving this cult classic its redemption arc with Sin Reloaded. The real star here is the interactivity. Long before Deus Ex, Sin let you hack terminals with DOS-style code, drive forklifts, and even knock weapons out of enemies' hands. Night Dive isn't just upscaling textures. They've actually overhauled the map design to fix the original's confusing layouts while keeping that 90s where do I go charm. Plus, you're getting the Wages of Sin expansion and a vault filled with behind-the-scenes assets that have been buried for nearly 30 years.
We need to find him so we can shut him down. If he releases these super mutants into the city, Freeport won't
Back in 1999, most shooters were about space marines or magical knights, but Kingpin Life of Crime was different. It was a filthy, foul-mouthed dive into a stylized noir deco underworld that felt like a fever dream directed by Guy Ritchie. Fast forward to now, and we have Kingpin Reloaded, an attempt to bring that grit to modern systems. But is this a triumphant return to the top, or just a stay of execution? Long before every game had RPG elements, Kingpin lets you talk to NPCs, hire a crew of goons for backup, and even use a conversation wheel to decide if you were going to play nice or start a brawl. Reloaded brings this back with a new quest system and polished mechanics, all while keeping that iconic, heavy-hitting soundtrack from Cypress Hill. It's got that signature location-based damage. Kneecapping an enemy is just as effective as a headshot, and a weapon roster that feels meaty and dangerous. Most games try to be important or deep, but back in 2003, Postal 2 just wanted to see if you use a cat as a silencer. It was clunky, offensive, and technically held together by digital duct tape, but it became a cult legend anyway. Now we have Postal 2 Redux, a ground-up remake that's ditching the ancient Unreal 1.5 engine for a modern Unity overhaul. It's the same week in the life of the Postal dude, but with a coat of paint that doesn't look like it was applied with a potato. In the original, the world felt like a series of cardboard cutouts. In Redux, the physics are actually reactive. We're talking destructible interiors, smarter AI crowds that react dynamically to your nonsense, and, finally, a movement system that doesn't feel like you're sliding on ice. You can still choose to play the entire game as a pacifist just running errands, but when the combat is this much meatier, why would you? Super Buff HD is a high-octane, surfboard-sliding, mutant-punching fever dream that looks like a Saturday morning cartoon had a head-on collision with a 90s arena shooter. It's loud, it's neon, and it is absolutely relentless. You are sliding, grinding on rails, and bouncing off the heads of grotesque, muscular, buff dudes. Imagine the speed of Doom Eternal mixed with the physics-based chaos of a skate game. You don't have a traditional reload. To get your ammo and health back, you have to get in close and literally punch the buffness out of your enemies. It forces you to stay aggressive or die. Visually, this thing is a trip. It uses this chunky, low poly meets high fidelity aesthetic that makes the screen feel like it's vibrating. The levels are huge playgrounds designed for verticality, and the boss fights are pure spectacle. Is it for everyone? Definitely not. The visual noise can be a bit much, and the sheer speed will give some players whiplash. But in a world of gritty, realistic shooters, Super Buff HD is a breath of fresh, neon-scented air. Alrighty guys, that's all for this one. Let me know down in the comments which of these games you're most excited to play. Catch you in the next one.